All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We have repeat guest Chadi Bazzi's in the house. What's going on, Chadi? How you feeling today?
Man, I feel blessed, brother. I feel blessed. I love doing this. I feel good. And I'm glad that we're doing this because I just got off a training with about 50 people. And in the training, a lot of what we talked about is feeling good. Like people always ask the question, how do you get into that frame of mind? So I think that would be a good first thing to talk about for like 30 seconds or less. I declare that that's the state of mind that I want to be in. And I declare it publicly. So I have no option but to show up feeling good.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I think that the energy that you really start to put out to people also, I think it becomes infectious. And I think that especially with, a lot of the negativity that people are living in right now and they're not maybe where they thought that they would be by Q4 of this year, it's the people that really help to shine and help to pull people through that really starts to make an impact on people. And you're obviously one of those. So let me ask you a question. What are you doing to impart that on other people throughout your coaching conversations and throughout your group trainings?
I've been very confrontational, Greg, very confrontational in a way of like, I learned a long time ago is that, a lot of times your friends are you really your friends, but are they as good of a friend as they can possibly be? And the answer 9 out of 10 times, if you really dissect it, the answer is no. The reason being is everyone wants you to feel safe around them. Everyone wants to tell you the things that are just going to calm you down for that moment so they don't have to deal with your shit and tell you that you need to shut up and put up and do the freaking damn work that you've been complaining about and all that good stuff. So I've become very confrontational with the people that rely on me for, guidance, for mentorship, for anything and everything that's going to impact their future and the future of the people that rely on them. And how I'm doing that is by just saying, hey, hold on. You said you want to do A. Tell me what the real problem is. Why aren't you doing it? No, 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 no. What's the real issue? So tough love, I think, is something that a lot of people run away from, and it's something that they absolutely need. So I don't want to make this conversation about just what I do and what you do. I want this conversation to be, more impactful to the people that are taking 20, 30 minutes out of their time to watch this video and or listen to this podcast. And I want you, our audience, to answer the question is, who is the one person that I resist asking for advice because they are so tough on me? And I want you to call that person immediately, like literally within hours. And I want you to have another conversation with them and ask them for that advice because that's the realest advice that you're going to get. And this time around, what you are going to do is you're not going to talk to this person ever again until you've actually brought the advice to life.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. So something I talk to a lot of people about is no matter what, okay? We can all hypothesize and we can all hallucinate about the things that we're going to do, about the big goals and the big dreams. But if it's not tied to a no matter what, like in my journal, like I abbreviate it NMH, no, NMW, no matter what. So you have your stretch and then you have your no matter what. And to me, like, unless you're actually going to stay with the self discipline that it takes in order to really hit those metrics, which is going to lead to your goals, which is going to lead to your financial freedom, it's going to lead to the trips and all the other good stuff. So that's why it's extremely important to find that person that will actually hold you accountable and that's going to follow up with you. So I've had guys like this and even, just ladies that I've been colleagues with and coworkers in the office, everybody gets fired up at a training, right? All of a sudden it's, I'm going to text you. Let's do a group chat. Let's make sure that, we hold each other accountable. What happens 99% of the time is people fall off. So what I hear you saying is you need to find that 1% of people that will actually follow up and make sure you're doing what you say that you're going to do.
That's it. I mean, look, how often do we have these people that come to us and they're always asking the same exact question, or they're always complaining about the same exact thing. The reason they do that is because we've allowed them to do that. And the reason that other people allow us to do that is because they're just not doing anything to really help us. They don't want to deal with our stuff. And at the end of the day, nobody wants to deal with anybody's stuff. Everyone's got their own stuff to deal with. So what I'm trying to say is identify that one person that gives you the tough love. Because 9 out of 10 times, that is the person that we are avoiding, and that is the person that we are needing in order for reality to hit us upside the head, and finally for us to take the responsibility to go out there and do what we need to do. Look, at the end of the day, a lot of the people that are watching this or listening to this are somehow connected to the real estate arena. Okay, whether it's through finance or investing or resale, residential, commercial, etc. We are in a people business. The way we win, whatever it is that we want to win, is by winning over people. But what a lot of people don't really understand is that in order for you to win over people, you must first win over yourself. And until you win over yourself, you're always going to be doing the right activity with the wrong energy, attracting not the right result.
All right, so let's go a little deeper on that. So right now, let's say me, okay? I know that I'm doing the right activities, but I don't have the right energy because there's too much stuff that's just consuming my mind elsewhere. Like you, for example. Let's talk about transition breakthrough, right? So you picked up everything years and years ago. You left Detroit in the Ford Escort. You showed up in California. Like, what did it take for you to get to that point?
Man, you just took me back like 1999. You just took me back all the way to 1999. You want to talk about a transition? That was the scariest transition of my life. That was the scariest transition of my life. Driving across the country, being a new father. I had a 2-year-old at the time who I had to sacrifice and leave behind with his grandparents for a little bit, which, we were going to leave him there for 2 months, but I couldn't stay away from him for 2 months. So I had to make things happen rather quickly. So that was a sacrifice. You want to talk about the transition? The transition it was scary. But what made the transition was the hunger, the dream. I knew what I wanted. And I knew that I wasn't going to get it if I did not make this big, bold move. And now looking back 25 years later, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So I don't know what else you want me to say about this, but if I were speaking from my heart, I would say do that which is scaring you the most right now. Do that which you are having a lot of resistance around right now. Because the transition to break through is the struggle.
Here's the one thing that comes to mind for me is I think what's happening in just the world around us, right? Let's just use the brokerage world as an example, okay? I think that there's so many people that are getting hung up on the fact that, well, if this one's freaking out, I now have permission to get nervous and freak out, all these changes coming down the pipeline. And I think what's happening is they're all like a lot of people are in a bubble. So I think for some people, the change that they might need is to say, you know what, damn it, I'm going to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to prospect my way right through this new market, and I'm still going to get to the end point. I think that could be the change that a lot of people might need.
Yeah, it's all perspective, man. It's all perspective. It's like, there's people freaking out, like, people dropping out of the business, people saying this and people saying that. And I'm like, I like this because I'm thinking like a lot of people. I'm like, okay, so if I got to make a bunch of phone calls every single morning, I now have like 20-30% less realtors to compete with, which means I've increased my odds of conversions and or market share by at least another 20-30%. It's all perspective, Greg. Like, a lot of people just don't think, they only think one sided. Remember, there's two sides to the coin. So, for example, somebody says, this NAR thing is going. Okay, I get it. We freak out and all that stuff. What is going on over there? How could that negatively impact my business? And that's how people start thinking. But do you ever look at the other side of the coin and saying, what positives could come out of this?
That's
Because I don't know,
true.
over the course of the last 20, 30 years, there's always been something that freaked everybody out, and we've always gone through it. We've always overcome it. We've always thrived. It's just a matter of just remember, negative, positive. You can focus on the negative. It's going to kill you financially, mentally, emotionally, and everything else, or you can think of positive. What could be the plus out of it?
Yeah, it's all in perspective. It's all, I think, in just action. Like the inaction, I've found this multiple times throughout my career, but sometimes when you get so hung up mentally that you just don't do what you know you're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
then you make that switch. And then all of a sudden, you start going home differently. You start waking up differently. You start feeling differently, which goes back to what you said in the beginning. It's when you feel good, you feel powerful, and then you're not even affected by the outside noise. You're more so impacted by what could be rather than what was. And that's another one that I want to drive home. And I've said this before on previous podcast episodes. Guys, for the listeners out there, forget what was, okay? Like, stop thinking that things were differently. Embrace the new and embrace the change and go out and make it happen.
Yeah, or I could say it like this. It's like, what new version of you do we need to see for the new version of the world?
I like that one. I like that one.
And then that becomes your little to-do list. Okay, what are some of the things that I'm not currently doing that if I actually did, I would grow mentally, I would grow emotionally, I would grow energetically, and I will be able to grow my business? Answer that question, and that becomes the new things you need to do to become the new you. That's it. As simple as that.
Yeah, so this makes me think of one of my mentors, Bob Wells, who was also on the podcast, and he always talks about recreation, and he talks about becoming a different version of yourself. I would highly suggest this for everybody listening right now. By the time this drops, you probably still have like 3-4 weeks to get this done. If you're stuck, if you're in a rut, it's an energy situation, right? And if you can't get around different people in order to just raise you at a local level, go to Tony Robbins, like go to UPW. I believe it's in Texas in November, and send me a message and let me know who you came back as, because I promise that the person that you went in, you're not coming back as the same person. I did it. I did it right after my son was born, and I had gone through all that transition and change with selling the dry cleaning business, leaving corporate America, having the baby, and at the time, I was extremely resistant. And my buddy Omar from Costa Rica, he flew in to come to UPW with me. And I can remember going into there with such resistance. And all of a sudden, it's like, he talks about awaken the giant within, right? It was just like a recreation happened. And like, I feel it inside of me now. And I feel that I need another recreation because we're constantly growing. So.
Yep. Reinvention, recreation, reinvention. I mean, if you think about it, like in the world of in the world of entertainment, okay, some of your favorite artists, how many times did they reinvent themselves and recreate themselves to just keep themselves current with the new world that we're always, evolving world? Okay, so I like that.
That's a great point. Any other tips you would give people on things that you would do differently if you would look back, or just ways to really like get into that change and that state of mind that much quicker? Because we're also at a key point here right now. Like, if you don't make change right now, you're going to relive the same year and the same outcome that you had this year. And for many, that's not what they're trying to do.
Yeah. So look, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer the question correctly, but the first thing that popped in my mind when you asked, like, if you could go back, change and all that good stuff. I think if I could go back, the one thing that I would do differently is I would like confront every single one of my fears, because I know there's a lot of people that are facing fears right now. And because I've learned the hard way that for every fear that you don't know how to overcome yourself, you'll never be able to guide and coach those that rely on you, your family members, your colleagues, and or your children to overcome that fear. And every fear I've ever faced that I've ever overcome was the stepping stone to the next level of my journey. So now I'm not even really have thought about this question, and it just popped up right now. So that's going to be like the homework assignment that I have for myself this evening, is thinking through, what am I fearful of right now that I need to tackle and overcome in order for me to take the next leap into my breakthrough and journey.
Amen. And I'm thinking the same thing. And for a lot of people, it might just be a couple of tough conversations, right? I know I've got just a couple of tough business conversations on the horizon, just about change, right? It might be getting on the other side of that. So you're not allowing that kind of stuff to occupy space in your mind.
Yep.
One thing that also stands out to me that I recall that you taught me in our calls is, what are you going to start doing? What are you going to stop doing? What are you going to do more of? And what are you going to do less of? I think this is the perfect time to write that down and journal that out. Because everybody has something that they should not be doing or they should do less of. And then everybody also has something they should do a lot more of or start doing. So
100%. Greg, and one of the things that I always remind our Listing on Demand members of is that those 4 questions should be inside of like a reminder system for them that will pop up once a month for them to answer. Or better yet, one of the things that you could do is you could have 1 week work on, what do I need to stop? 1 week, what do I need to start? 1 week, what do I need to do more of? 1 week, what do I need to do less of? And just rotate these questions throughout the whole entire year, and you will have a lot more breakthroughs.
I like that. I like the monthly reminder idea, man. It just gets you thinking differently, and it gets you focused on like the internal growth that has to take place. And just what I'm realizing, especially after I finish this crazy triathlon, is like, I'm only getting started. And I think that once you get to the point where you start to scratch the surface of the internal personal development, the internal growth, no matter what starts to come your way, even if you have a freak out day or freak out moment, like if you focus on where you're going in 5 years and 10 years and 15 years, everything just starts to come together. So I think that's an awesome little tidbit, an awesome little share.
I think that would be very awesome. And, Greg, like when me and you started this, recording this a little bit ago, right before we hit the button, we said, you know what, we just want to have a casual conversation and talk about anything and everything that comes up, making sure that, we stay, centered in the area of like, are we making a contribution? Are we making an impact? And, I know there's somebody that's watching this and or listening to this, and they're probably thinking to themselves, hey, I can't do a Tony Robbins right now. I can't do this mega seminar and or this mega coaching program and all that stuff. And I kind of feel some kind of a responsibility to help that person out until they can eventually do that kind of thing, in exchange for a pay it forward later on to someone else as they begin to transform. So what I'm thinking is that we poll our audience right now, whether they're on the podcast and or watching this on YouTube or wherever they're consuming this, for them to go to this YouTube video and in the comments just say something, just say thank you in the comments. And if we get enough thank yous, what I would like to do is for you and us, for me and you, to get all of them together with us, maybe on like a private meeting where we do a podcast episode for every single person by helping out every single person and giving them coaching. I think combined between the knowledge that we both possess and the amount of wealth that we've created in our lifetimes, I think we can help out a lot of people. So in the comments, just put on thank you, just put anything. And then we just want to know if you have an interest in us doing something for you. Holiday gift. That's it. It's a holiday gift. No holds barred. Hold nothing back. Whatever coaching you need help with, we're going to help you with it.
I love that. I really do. And I can think of so many things that don't require flying to Texas, spending money on UPW, and just little hacks that I've learned, like just to change the state. And I learned all this stuff from getting around, people like Bob, like I mentioned, getting around the conferences with Tony. And it's like once you find your anchors and you figure out how you can really go to that point, it's even like you could do a little $10 trampoline in your office and change your state every morning. You could call somebody to pump you up every single morning. And a lot of people, I think that the easiest hack is just movement. Once you get to the point of where like you're doing something, like today's Tuesday, right? I had a crazy Monday yesterday. So what did I do today? I woke up even earlier and I went out for 3 miles and I went to this one section of a park where like I could yell some affirmations and I could get really loud and declare, my power. And like if you can't ever let that out, like unleash the beast, you got to let it out. Like you have to, because you're not doing any good for anyone, especially for yourself, if you're holding everything in and you're not sharing like your power. So
Yep.
we have hacks for that.
We definitely got some hacks for that, and we definitely want to bring on as many people as we possibly can and give them all the hacks one by one. And let's give them a hack right now. You want to do it, or you
Sure.
want to do it?
You go first. I did the trampoline. I'll think of another one.
Okay. So I was on a call earlier with a rock star woman, okay, who was 1.5 years in the business and had done 0 deals in her first 1.5 years in the business. And then when we started to work with each other, she ended up taking 22 for sale by owners just from one category in a matter of 9 months.
Wow.
And here we are a year later after earning hundreds of thousands of dollars from this one source. And when we were doing Q&A, her question was like, I feel like I'm emotionally out of control. I'm emotionally out of control. And I'm like falling down and, fearful and all that stuff. And I'm like, how could someone with so much power lose it? Okay. So I said to her, okay, that's fine. It's okay. You're human. You're allowed to feel that way. Let me ask you a question. I want to interrupt the pattern. Okay. So let me ask you a question. I don't think I've ever asked you that last vacation that you went on and you made $50,000 while you were on vacation. What was the best part about that? And she started to open up her mouth and speak, and I said, stop. It's a different person speaking than the person that was speaking a minute ago. That's what we call a pattern interrupt. Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever you find yourself in a state, how do you interrupt the pattern? By asking yourself a different kind of question. So what I want you to do, our audience, for the hack, is make a list of 4 or 5 questions right now that whenever you find yourself feeling like crap, all you can do is pick up your phone, go to the notes section, and just answer the question. How about the question of like, who loves me? How about the question is, like, what's the best thing that's ever happened to me? You see, the moment that you start to thinking about that, you've already interrupted the old pattern that had you in a negative state of mind. And now you've created the new pattern of being in a better state of mind. So there's your hack.
Awesome. All right, I'll share a very quick hack. Mine is more of a primer, okay? But I promise if you can get out there, for the folks in the East Coast, while there's still some sunshine out here, we still have the UVs coming in. But obviously for your California folks, it's going to be pretty easy. My suggestion, and what's really helped me, is go to a park, okay? You're going to have your AirPods or your Bose headphones, something that's noise canceling, and some kind of positive meditation. It doesn't have to be long. Maybe it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, whatever. Soma breathing stuff, Deepak Chopra, whatever. Positive information being flooded into your brain, right? Go find a place in a park, and you're going to sit there, and you're just going to be in joy. And you're just going to close your eyes, and sometimes you're going to feel like oh my God, like what if somebody's coming up to me? What if somebody's walking by me? Just don't even allow it to happen. Just keep the eyes closed. But the key is the sunshine. The sunshine is coming into you and you just feel different, right? You feel the vibration, you feel the frequency, and you're going to start to think about your goals. You're going to start to think about, financial freedom, your family, vacations, whatever you need to change your state. And I promise you, by the time you open up your eyes after some deep breathing techniques, you will feel like a different person. And for anybody that's listening to this right now and is resisting this, you need to get out of your own way. You need to go on a Friday or go on a Saturday, go and sit in that warmth and tell me if it doesn't change the outlook of the rest of your day.
100%. I love it. Love it.
Cool. All right. We've dropped a lot of knowledge here. So I think we're going to put a bow on this one. Chadi, how do people reach out, get in touch, and give them one more reminder about that YouTube?
Yeah, so look, best way to reach out is just chadibazzi.com or just on YouTube, Chadi Bazzi. You could find me anywhere on social media. I think for the holidays, what I would love to do is give you guys the gift. Maybe it's the gift of planning 2024. It's the gift of giving you certainty. It's the gift of coaching you on that which you feel like you need coaching on. And the only way we know is if that's something that you are wanting is by you leaving a comment somewhere below that video, and then we'll reach out. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you guys so much. Till next time.